some of this before, but I felt like it was worth reiterating. But the first question I want to answer for you guys is, when exactly are these ETH ETFs going live for trading? When are we going to see those first inflows coming in to ETH like we see for BTC? Because BTC today actually had one of its biggest inflow days of almost, I believe, $1 billion or over $1 billion into the BTC ETFs. Fidelity in particular had a really big day. So yeah, when are we going to see that for those flows for ETH? When is ETH going to get some love here? From what I've seen, the earliest that we can expect this is still the end of June. I think there hasn't been too much movement on the S-1 forms, but there is movement there, and obviously they're going to start trading at some point. We're just left wondering and speculating on the timeline. I think end of June, into July probably looks good there. And people argue whether it's bullish or bearish to launch kind of sooner rather than later, and so on and so forth. I think speculating on that's probably not the greatest use of time, to be honest, because you can't prove the one or the other. Like if the ETFs were to go live trading next week, you couldn't prove that it would have been more bullish if they were to go live trading next month, because we don't live in that reality, right? So I think that's not really something to speculate on. Because it's kind of a waste of time. I mean, I think that overall, no matter what position you take on the ETH ETFs, these new flows coming into ETH that are only going to BTC and no other assets, because no other assets have an ETF, is bullish for the price of ETH, because I don't think that anyone expects ETH, or anyone's going to be selling their ETH, right, at this point in time, certainly not long-term investors, thinking that ETH has topped or anything like that. I mean, we're not even at all-time high yet. But I think one of the biggest open questions around the ETH ETFs and their impact on the price of ETH is around what's going to happen with ETH-E, Grayscale's ETH-E trust product, which, as you guys know, is a closed-ended trust that's being converted into an open ETF that they're following the same process that they did with GBTC converting into an ETF. Now, the reason why there is much speculation around this is because, as we saw with GBTC, around half of that AUM came out of GBTC once it converted. It didn't happen all at once, but it did happen over a few weeks, and there was a sell pressure because of that, right? The price of BTC did actually go down after the BTC ETF started trading, and it only started going up, I believe, or at least got back to the price it was when the BTC ETFs were approved, I believe a full month later, right? So there was definitely an impact here, not just from those outflows, but also from the speculators selling off, because obviously we had a long speculative phase right up until the BTC ETFs were approved of at least 3 months, where the market was pricing in these approvals. Whereas for ETH, it has been the opposite, where essentially right up until we knew that we're going to get approved on, I believe it was May 20th when the news first broke, ETH was being priced as if the ETFs were going to get denied, and that's why ETH was at 3K. And then, of course, ETH did one of its biggest candles, if not its biggest daily candle in history, and went from like 3K to 4K in a single day there. Now, of course, since then, ETH has kind of stayed around 3,800, hasn't really gone above that, obviously hasn't gone to all-time high or anything like that. And people are speculating, is this because the market expects there to be massive outflows from the ETH product like there was from GBTC? And of course, there are both bullish and bearish arguments to be made here. The bearish argument, I mean, the clear bearish argument is that there's going to be $6 billion, which is about 50% of what ETH AUM is right now, of ETH that is sold pretty much over, a few weeks after the ETH ETFs start trading, which is sell pressure that the market has to eat. That is the max bearish scenario, I think, when you're looking at it from that perspective. I don't think that you would see more or more kind of outflows than that. I don't even think you're going to see that many outflows. And this brings me to my kind of bullish case. And the bullish case here is a few different things. And I think there's actually more of a bull case to be made than a bear case about ETH. The bull case falls into basically two main kind of buckets here. The first bucket is the fact that ETH is trading basically at par at this point. It is not at a discount anymore like it was. I believe it was at like a 25% discount right up until May 20th, I believe. But now, if I look at the ETH discount, I'm just bringing it up on my other screen here. You won't be able to see this because I have to open it in a different window here. But the discount is around 1.7%. So it's essentially at par now, right? Or it's essentially at, I guess, like near what the fee is for ETH-E here. So from that perspective, if you were really, really itching to sell out of ETH-E and sell out of ETH altogether and go to cash and put your money elsewhere, like, it stands to reason that you wouldn't just wait another, I don't know how many weeks until the ETH-E product gets converted to an ETF and then sell, right? So there's an open question around like how many people are actually waiting for this. Whereas I think the opposite is true, where essentially a lot of people bought that discount and are up, a lot right now. Because if you bought the 20% discount, you're basically up a free 20% ETH denominated, not USD denominated. but also USD denominated because ETH went up by 20%, right, from that trade. So you're sitting on some healthy profits there, both against USD and obviously, benchmarking against ETH spot as well, because you got to buy at a discount there. So if you're in that position, like, you're probably not going to be waiting until ETH converts into an ETF in order to sell out of it and go to cash. Maybe you want to get out of that product and go to a different ETF. Like, that is a net zero thing. That is not sell pressure. That is essentially a wash, because you're going to be rebuying it in the new ETF anyway. So essentially that nets out to zero. So that I wouldn't consider to be sell pressure. So if we're talking about the actual net sell pressure here from those people that just want to sell when it gets converted for whatever reason, it doesn't really strike me as a good reason to sell out here, then essentially what's going to happen is that I believe there's not going to be much of those people. Now, the second case here is that I believe Grayscale actually learned their lesson from GBTC, and I do not think that their fee is going to stay as high as it was, because the reason why there were so many outflows from GBTC is because they kept the fee very, very high compared to the other ETF fees. So anyone who wanted to even stay in an ETF would still sell out of the product, right? They would sell out, they would go to cash initially, and then have to rebuy as part of the other ETFs. Yes, it would net out to zero, but it does still count for that, that period of time. There is that kind of, I guess, like delta period between like when they sell and when it gets rebought in the other ETFs. And then of course you had the narrative on top of that, people looking at these outflows being like, oh my God, look how much is being sold, so on and so forth. And then the rest is history, as we've seen from the price action there. So there's that perspective. But I struggle to think that Grayscale is going to do the same thing with ETH, because if they already know what it's going to look like, at least 50% of the AUM is just going to get out of that product altogether and go to a competing product, or just leave crypto altogether, then why would they do that to themselves? Like, it doesn't make any sense at all. So what makes more sense is that they're actually going to lower the fee. Maybe it won't be as low as some of the other ETFs out there, but they're going to lower the fee much lower than what it was for GBTC when it converted on their ETH product, which should result in much less outflows. I do believe that if they do leave it the same as it is now with a huge fee, they're going to see massive outflows of it. And I still believe that's not going to be bearish, because it's just going to net out to zero. I don't really think there's going to be that many outflows from ETH that are just going to go to cash and go somewhere else and aren't going to rebuy ETH eventually. But I'm just not seeing the like huge bear case here. And I'm not even mentioning the fact that this is just one product with one set of outflows, when we're going to be having all of these other ETH ETFs going live, bringing in fresh money, hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars in the first few weeks, right? If not tens of billions of dollars in the first couple of months. And that's just the ETF money. Then throw in the money within crypto or outside of the ETFs that's going to be going into ETH still as well. And essentially you will have more demand than even 50+% of outflows from ETH here. So I'm just not seeing the bear case. But I think that's maybe particularly one reason why the market may be a little bit kind of weary about bidding ETH right now, which to me, as I just explained, seems insane. But that's kind of where we're at right now. But in terms of the longer term here, this is something that I see playing out over maybe the next 3 months all up. Like if we kind of take the whole thing from today to when the ETFs are trading to what the ETH outflows look like and when they kind of stop and just plateau there, I think you could say 2 to 3 months is the bulk of it there. So that's like the medium term. That's not the short term, it's the medium term, but it's definitely not the long term. If we extrapolate this out and go long term a year from now, and we take all of the bullish cases and all the bullish energy that ETH is going to get, not only because of the ETFs, but everything else, over the next year, it stands to reason that ETH is going to be a lot higher than what it is now. So if you're a long-term investor, worrying about these day-to-day movements where you're like, oh, ETH is underperforming some random meme coin on the day, or ETH is underperforming even though it just went up like 30%, the other week, it went up in market cap by like $80 billion, guys, which is greater than every other asset's market cap. Like if you actually go to CoinGecko and look at the top assets by market cap, everything except BNB is below 80 billion. Everything. Like Solana at around 79 billion, you have, and then from there it's XRP at 30 billion, Doge at 23 billion, like everything is less than that, and ETH did that in one day. So of course the market needs to digest this over the short term, guys. Like these people who took that trade, imagine if you bought ETH at 3K as a trader thinking, ETH looks really like a really good buy here. You didn't know anything about the ETFs, but ETH looks like a really good buy here. I'm gonna, take the trade here. And then automatically within like a day, you make 30% on your money. Of course there's gonna be some profit taking there. And then of course there's going to be people that who are already holding ETH, maybe from like $1,000 or $1,500, who are like, okay, well, this is a pretty good time for me to cash out some. You know, I'm up a lot of my money right now. I'm gonna sell off a little bit here. So there's just that natural market dynamics that happen over the short term. And keep in mind, guys, this is only 2 weeks ago, and ETH is still at 3,800 at time of recording here, going into a market where BTC is about to go back into price discovery. BTC inflows into the ETFs are once again very, very high. The ETH ETF is about to go public. BlackRock and Larry Fink and other big TradFi firms are making a heavy push into crypto, into on-chain stuff, into tokenization. The whole on-chain ecosystem is growing faster than it ever has. Coinbase has their smart wallet coming out soon. L2s are taking off in a really big way. Like, there's just so much stuff happening on the bullish side of things that if you're bearish right now, you probably have some kind of mental illness where it's like, I don't know, bearitis or something like that, or some kind of disease that makes you a bear, because I see basically zero reasons to be bearish. Even over the short to medium term, I see zero reasons to be bearish. I see a million reasons to be bullish over the longer term here, but that's how I generally see it right now. And I know I've gone for a little while on this point here, but I felt like it was worth reiterating because of the fact that people, for some reason, are like, oh, why is ETH underperforming? It's like, what do you mean underperforming? Like, it's just crazy. Like, ETH was at $3,000 2 weeks ago, guys. It's at almost 4,000 now. And I bet, like, I mean, I'm not going to put any money on this, of course. Maybe I'll just do like a social bet here that we could see ETH at all-time high within the next few weeks, if that. I really do think that ETH is literally almost, like, once it passes 4K, that's it. It's going all-time high. All-time high is around 5K. I mean, I think 4,900 or something like that, depending on the exchange that you look at. And once we're there, and BTC is already in price discovery, and everything else is going bullish, and mainstream media is now covering stuff again, we have all these ETF inflows still coming in, what do you think is going to happen to the price of, I guess, like, not only ETH and BTC, of course, but everything? We're going to go into a proper bull market, and that is going to be that kind of, I guess, like, final 6 months or so of, like, the craziness of the bull market, I believe. It could extend longer than that. We've never had a bull market before when we had something like an ETF product live for BTC and, of course, soon for ETH. But that's my general thinking on the markets right now. So anyone who's bearish has a disease, in my opinion, or a mental illness. It's just, there's no reason to be bearish here, guys. And I'm not even I didn't even talk about all the positive political stuff that's been happening. I know that Fit 21 bill was vetoed by Biden, but honestly, I don't even think that's anything bearish. I think that's just like politics. At the end of the day, it's going to get sorted out. It's going to get ironed out. I think that the shift in the regulatory landscape and the shift on the political side is still very pro-crypto. I do think that the pro-crypto candidates, the pro-crypto politicians, the pro-crypto kind of like lobbying firms, they're all making huge strides in getting crypto as a central part of the US political system, especially in a election year where now you have the Republican frontrunner Trump basically going all in on crypto. Whether you like Trump or not is irrelevant here. Whether you agree with the policies of one party or another is irrelevant here. What's relevant to us in the crypto sphere, for better or worse, is how crypto is being treated here. And even if it is just like pandering and LARPing, at the end of the day, if it's a net positive for crypto, then we should be cheering for it, I think, from that perspective. But I understand that politics obviously goes a lot larger than that. I understand that a lot of people aren't single issue voters. I personally aren't either. I mean, I wouldn't vote for someone just because they have a positive crypto policy if all their other policies were absolutely garbage. And by garbage, I mean didn't align with my views and beliefs in things. Obviously, that's an opinion. It's not a fact there. But I'm generally not a single issue voter. But I think that even if it's not just a single issue thing, even if crypto is maybe just like one issue that you care about, but it's a big issue, then you will make your voice heard at the polls this year. And I think that both parties understand that crypto has way more people that are pro-crypto than anti-crypto. I actually don't think there's anyone who's anti-crypto. Like, do you like this? And I think I actually did this thought experiment a few months ago on the refuel, where I basically said, is there a group of people large enough that are so anti-crypto that is their single issue that they would vote on? Like, is there someone that exists that would not vote for Biden? That would not vote for the Republicans if let's say they're already a Republican. Let's say they're already a fan of Trump. Is there someone who would not vote for Trump and the Republicans just because they're pro-crypto and go vote for Biden? I don't think that person exists, right? So I don't think that the anti-side is a winning side to be on. I think the pro side is definitely a winning side to be on. And I think that the politicians are wising up to that in a very, very quick way. And that's why we've seen a kind of positive shift there. Now, as I said, I went through all the bull cases before without even mentioning the politics stuff, which is a huge bullish case for crypto too. So I guess wrapping up here, there's zero reasons to be bearish, guys. Like, I don't see any. I'm extremely bullish. I'm extremely bullish on ETH in particular, obviously, extremely bullish on Ethereum, and I'm very, very bullish on TradFi getting involved in a really big way within the Ethereum ecosystem on the real-world asset tokenization front. I really do think that within the next couple of years, you're going to see a stock exchange built on crypto rails, built within the Ethereum ecosystem, that is a fully tokenized stock exchange, fully regulated tokenized stock exchange that is accessible to the TradFi ecosystem, and it's all basically on-chain. I do think we're going to see that in the next couple of years, and that to me is like one of the end games, and one of the reasons why I was so excited about on-chain finance or DeFi to begin with, is for it to basically be integrated within the TradFi world and just make a 100, 1,000 times better financial experience for not only people that exist as part of the financial system today, but also the billions of people who do not have access to a financial system. This is mass adoption, guys, happening before your eyes. This is giving the people who are disenfranchised on the financial side of things a way to get involved with the financial system. And this is the complete and total globalization of the financial system, which, you know, some people may think is dystopian, but I actually think it's a net positive. The more people that are connected together via value, not just via the internet. The internet obviously connects people in a social way, in a communications way, but the value layer of the internet has been missing until we had crypto, and that is what's going to connect the world. That is the final missing piece, and that is what's going to, in my opinion, usher in a new era of human prosperity, because we're going to have much better financial rails, and we're going to have much more opportunity afforded to billions of people who haven't had those opportunities before. So I'm super bullish on all of that. Now, on that note, I'm going to end my bullish rant there. Going to move on to a bunch of the other stuff that I wanted to talk about. So first up is this ETH roadmap website that I've covered before from ETHwave. So this is ethroadmap.com. They have updated this website in a big way here. So essentially, what it is basically taking Vitalik's roadmap diagram that you all know and love and put it on this website and made it interactive. So essentially you can scroll down and see dates associated with all of these different upgrades, EIP numbers, so on and so forth. If you start at the top here, you can actually look at the merge and click into it, and it will show you an expanded view of what the merge part of Vitalik's roadmap looks like, with a bunch of different items here that you can again click into. So if you click into them, you'll get a bit of information about this with some resources here. This is constantly being updated, guys. This is not like its final form or anything like that, but this is very, very cool. And I mean, you can go check out ETHwave's tweet for an expanded kind of spiel on what has been updated here and what's going on here. But I'm very glad this exists, because I think the Ethereum roadmap is definitely something that a lot of people don't have much knowledge of, because of the fact that it is vast, right? It's like a 10-year roadmap. It is quite technical. There is a lot of different resources that you need to kind of consume to understand what's going on. There's just so many moving parts to it. So being able to do this in a one-stop shop website like the ethroadmap.com is awesome, and I'm very glad this exists here. So you can go check this out. I'll link it in the YouTube description below. One bit of feedback that I did want to give though to ETHwave, if you're listening, please change the background. I don't think the background, like, I like the ETH logo, but I don't think this background lends itself to legibility. I mean, it's not hard to read anything for me, but I don't know, I just feel like it's a bit of a weird background. Maybe if you had like a, I don't know, like a gray background where essentially you could have like a faded ETH logo in the background, and it was like dark gray or black, or like a dark mode or something like that, it'd look better. I'm not a designer, but yeah, right now, I don't know, it doesn't look that great. And honestly, like, I'm just being honest here because I want this website to get more eyeballs on it. It makes it look a little bit cheap, I think, because I don't think many websites have these image backgrounds these days. It's definitely something from like an older website design kind of paradigm there. So that's my only bit of feedback there. Otherwise, other than that, I'm happy with everything. I mean, the information on here is phenomenal. I really, really do love everything going on here. And I understand that this is a volunteer thing. No one's paying you to do this, ETHwave, and no one's paying you to maintain this or put this together. But if you do need help in any way at all, I'm happy to help as best I can. So just feel free to DM me or reach out to me there. But yeah, anyway, you guys can go check this out. I'll link it in the YouTube description below for you to do so. Alright, so one thing that Rocket Pool has been heavily criticized for over, I guess, like years now at this point, is the design of the RPL token, and the fact that in order to become a Rocket Pool node operator, you need to have exposure to the RPL token. You need to stake a portion of the RPL token, or I guess like a portion of your holdings of the RPL token, in order to become a node operator here. And this, of course, has resulted in a lack of scalability for the Rocket Pool protocol, and also people getting annoyed that when the RPL price falls and then when the ratio falls, you have to stake even more RPL in order to claim your RPL rewards when you're staking as a node operator, and also in order to, if you wanted to, withdraw your stake from the system. Now, of course, there has been a lot of work being done over the, I guess, like last year or so in changing this and basically revamping the entire RPL token here. So if you want to go check this out, Jasper has a great a tweet here explaining some of this with a bunch of replies, but also a link to the new tokenomics proposal. I'll link it in the YouTube description below. But the reason why I'm highlighting this isn't in particular for the token itself, because you guys know I try to avoid highlighting any token except really ETH on the refuel, and I don't want to give investment advice here. But the reason why I'm highlighting this is because this tokenomics revamp has a very big impact on the protocol itself, because it should result in the protocol kickstarting its growth again and resulting in more node operators coming online, which is basically the North Star for Rocket Pool, right? They want more node operators coming online. They want more validators coming online as part of the Rocket Pool ecosystem here. And I do believe this tokenomics revamp or rework is going to be instrumental in allowing that to happen. So you can go check this out. I'll link it in the YouTube description below for you to do so here. I'm not going to summarize it because there's a lot that's going into this, and Jasper would be someone that you guys should talk to in the Rocket Pool